And welcome, Hoosier Nation, to our 91st episode of the Hoosier Sound, where we are the official podcast of Indiana HQ. Our mission and goal is simple. We want to bring in-depth analysis and coverage for Indiana University sports to as many fans as possible across a multitude of modern platforms. We are recording this edition of the Hoosier Sound on Tuesday evening, June 4th, 2019, where I am your host, Matthew Lukens. You can catch this live broadcast Tuesday evenings at 8:30 p.m. on our YouTube page or on our website. If you missed the live broadcast, you can subscribe to our show for free on whatever platform you listen to podcasts, so you can listen on your own time. Check out our Twitter and Facebook at the Hoosier Sound and at Indiana HQ. Subscribe and turn that bell on. All the information is on our website, indianahq.com. All right, Hoosier Nation, it's time for some sports talk. On the docket tonight, the annual Huber's Winery event took place a few days ago, but there's a lot of discussion to be had on each coach and what they said and gave in their statements. Here with me tonight, one of the anchors of the show, Nithan Krishnan, is here and ready to go. How are you tonight, Nithan?
Matt, I'm doing awesome. It's a great day in Chicagoland. It's like 75 degrees outside right now.
Oh, God, brag. Oh,
absolute paradise until, the next time it pours. But look, no, I mean, I'm doing well, but unfortunately we had a bit of a disappointing conclusion to the IU baseball season over the weekend.
Yeah.
That was a bit frustrating. I'm not going to lie, Matt. Something stuck up my craw from the weekend.
What was it? What was
it? Something has me a little bit bothered. And here's the deal. Like, umpiring is a tough job. It's tough to do. Whether it's baseball or softball or whatever.
Yep. I know where you're going with this.
For that game on Sunday to end the way it did, with the home plate umpire making an absolute star of the show about himself. I can't stand guys like that. To throw out the Louisville pitcher for muttering, "Oh, that's horrible" or "That's terrible," and then to follow it up with an absolutely horrendous strike 3 call on Ryan Feynman to end IU season. I thought it was absolutely pathetic. And it's hard to watch a regular season game end in that fashion.
Yeah.
But IU's manager, Jeff Mercer, added the obvious fact that it ended IU's season on top of it. It was just totally unnecessary. I guess, I don't know. Look, baseball is not close to basketball or football in terms of popularity in this country. And I think if either Major League Baseball or the NCAA wants to get it close to that level, they have to fix the umpiring somehow. I don't know if it means technology. I don't know if it means challenges. I don't know what, but they got to figure it out because that was embarrassing.
There's a reason why the umpire is umping college games and not the minor leagues or the major leagues. So, I mean, it's the same reason with college refs and football when people go, and basketball, because God, basketball refs are terrible in college basketball. But in football, people are like, well, why don't they have the best, umpires, and why don't they have the best officials? And it's like, well, because they're getting paid a lot more money to do it in the pros. So
no, for sure. But, obviously we've had mistakes in other sports, right? I think everyone remembers that Rams Saints conclusion from the NFC title game last year. And I'm not saying mistakes don't happen in other sports, but what did the NFL do? They instituted a rule for the coming season where late in the game they'll review pass interferences. Who knows how it works? All I'm saying is baseball's got to figure something out.
Right. But to be fair, Nathan is only mad about the call. He is not mad about the outcome because our pitching was horrendous this weekend. All weekend. All 3 games. We did not have one good outing from any of our pitchers. Bullpen included.
Make no mistake, I'm by no means saying that the umpire is the only reason IU lost.
We scored 5 runs and lost the game.
And to make matters worse, it was absolutely gorgeous in Louisville for the entire weekend. Really, it was hot. It was warm. It was favorable for hitting, and Well, I guess I offensively just went through a bit of a slump, except for that UIC win. All in all,
They scored 5. It's not even that much of a slump. The pitching let us down this weekend, and that's baseball. Because baseball, you can have the best team in the world, but if people are hitting your pitches, it doesn't even matter. So, I mean, hey, hats off to the baseball program. They had a great year, especially baseball coach. His first year, I think he did a heck of a job. And so everybody here from Indiana HQ, of course, congratulations on the season. Didn't end how you guys wanted it to, but everybody's season doesn't end like it wants to, except for one team. That wasn't us this year. Hopefully in the near future, that'll be us though. All right. So Noah, the reason why Noah's not here tonight, it's just us two. It's because he's got a last minute job interview to prepare for. So wish him luck. Last week, he got engaged to his wonderful girlfriend at Disneyland, or Disney World, sorry, excuse me. Came all the way down to Florida, didn't even see me. I'm upset about that. But came all the way down, and he proposed, and so they're now engaged. So congratulations, Noah. Congratulations, Jenna. I didn't want to mention it in last week's podcast because I didn't want to ruin anything. But, the cat's out of the bag now, so I can't ruin anything. And he had to tell me so that I couldn't ruin it. But then I felt like I was going to ruin it or say something. And I've never had so much pressure on me in my entire life.
Do jinxes work for engagements? I don't know. Is it like no hitters? Does it work the same way?
No, that's not how this works. There's too many engagements for that to happen. I feel like, man. No, they're great. They're wonderful. So congratulations, Noah. Good luck on the job interview. Okay.
Yeah. Congratulations, Noah.
Yes, congrats from everybody at Indiana HQ.
From me also.
Yeah. And Nathan, of course, the most important person on the podcast. Anyways, so to Phil's absence, we're going to have Blake Betzner on, our contributor for football, but he also couldn't make it tonight. So you get our two lovely faces, guys, and I am sure you're happy about that. So we're going to move on into football. So the first point that we have that Nathan wants to talk about is Coach Allen likes the 4-game redshirt rule. So you want to explain a little bit about what he likes about it?
Maybe let's take a step back real quick.
Okay, yeah.
The Huber Winery get together happened recently, where IU coaches kind of interacted with some fans downstate, and it's always a good time, right? It's kind of the off season right now, and whether it's Tom Allen or Archie Miller, the men's basketball coach, or Terry Morin, the women's basketball coach, it's always nice to get the coaches in front of the fans in order to sort of, make sure, it's all rah-rah about IU sports. That's what it's all about. Now, what also happens during this kind of event is, you get some questions asked to both coaches. And it was nice to see Tom Allen after what is it now? It's like 7 months or so of the off season, sort of look forward to the upcoming year. He had a nice interview with the media gaggle down at the Huber Winery, and there were a lot of important points that he touched on. We're not going to regurgitate the 17-20 minute interview, but some of the points that I thought were really interesting included things like the red shirt rule that you touched on earlier. Talked about the quarterback competition, who's showing leadership, which positions stand out and which need some improvement. So like you mentioned, Matt, the first thing I wanted to talk about was the red shirt rule. And I was really looking forward to talking to Blake about this, but unfortunately he wasn't able to join us tonight. But it's the rule the NCAA instituted last year, where they allowed players to play 4 games, up to 4 games, and not burn a year of NCAA eligibility. So players like linebacker James Miller, who may not be a huge name yet for an IU football fan, Miller played 4 games last year, but guess what? Thanks to this new rule, he still has 4 years of NCAA eligibility left. So it was really interesting to see the first thing that Tom Allen talked about in his Huber Winery interview was this redshirt rule and how IU really enjoys implementing that rule for players like James Miller. He also mentioned Miles Marshall, a wide receiver who got some time. So all in all, Matt, it's always good to see the NCAA add new rules to make things interesting, and this redshirt rule, I think, falls under that category.
Yes, it's nice to see the NCAA actually do something sensible for once. As an organization, they seem to do some certain things that make you scratch your head. But this is one of those things where it's like, this makes sense.
Right.
I do
And
like.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I personally love the 4-game rule, and I think it's going to be interesting to see who gets redshirted this upcoming year. Of course, we had a lot of important players leave on the defensive end, and I would like to see how he uses that for the freshmen that are coming in. Especially, it's the best recruiting class that IU's almost ever had. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. And then the next class for IU football as well. And just to see how he uses the 4-game rule and, who he redshirts and who we get to have for 5 years instead of 4. So
well, and just to contrast it to the prior rule, right? You'd think basically what used to happen was if you played a game, even if it was a snap, a quarter, there were some exceptions that were made, but that's it. That was, you burned a year of eligibility if you played even a single game.
Yep.
So this way, it allows individual players to develop. They don't have to burn a full year. And Tom Allen singled out players like James Miller and Miles Marshall as guys who should have really good years coming up because they were able to play a little bit last season.
Yeah, every game rep you get is very important. So I'm excited to see those guys and see how they improve during their IU career. All right, so Penix is back on track. Medical staff feels great about him, and that's always a good sign, especially if the coach is coming out and saying that. They're not going to say if they feel good, if they feel good. If they feel good, they're going to say it, and they're saying it. Which is great. That is the dumbest sentence I've ever made. Anyways, he should be 100% by the fall, which is also great news for football because we love Michael Penix. So all 3 quarterbacks will be competing for the job. Is that a surprise to you?
No, not so much, but it was good to see. I don't know if it was good to see it, but it was, I think, noteworthy to see Tom Allen formally kind of embrace that, formally comment on that. It's an open competition. It's going to be a battle between Michael Penix, Peyton Ramsey, and Jack Tuttle to see who wins the job. And you better believe it's not going to just be one guy the whole year. If a guy loses the starting competition, it's not like he's not going to play. So that formal acknowledgement was nice, but I'm looking forward to seeing Penix. I mean, it's good. It's good to hear that he's not going to have, hopefully, many lingering effects from his knee injury that he suffered last year against Penn State.
Yep.
They keep talking about how the medical field keeps getting better and better handling those knee injuries. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing Penix in an IU jersey next year, playing some quarterback. Will he be the starter? I don't know. But I'm looking forward to seeing the lefty sling it around a little bit next year.
I think it'll be interesting if they don't go with a rotation of quarterbacks. So I feel like we have 3 very good quarterbacks, or not very good, but we have 3 decently good quarterbacks, especially for a school like IU that hasn't had a great quarterback since Nate Sudfeld. And how we use them, and who separates themselves from the pack. Anyways, we'll see it as the season goes on. What happens with that? And I will be the first person to complain about people sucking. So
and remember, even Sudfeld is in the NFL now. He was in a bit of a rotation a few years ago with Trey Roberson and Cam Kaufman. So look, we'll see how things play out. Cam
Kaufman.
Yeah.
Oh, what a name. That's a throwback. All right.
Who can forget?
Anyways. Nick Westbrook rising up and showing leadership on the offensive end. Coach Allen talked about Nick Westbrook as a senior, right?
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. We were talking about him last week, weren't we?
That's right.
With the senior class.
I get him and I get a couple of the other wide receivers all mixed up in my brain. And I think it's all down to the fact that they didn't have names in the back of the jersey last year. I'm going to blame it on that. Anyways, Nick Westbrook showing some leadership, so that's great. Right. That's different than our other sport that we're about to talk about. And so it's nice that the leadership is being shown from a senior. That's great. That's always good for team morale and team camaraderie. So that's good.
Yeah, and just to clarify, that was the head coach singling out Nick Westbrook for
Yes.
stepping up. So it's not like it's not. It was kind of unprompted, in all honesty, going back and listening to the interview. So it's always nice to hear your senior leaders step up, head coach acknowledging that it's not like anybody's forced to do anything here. So tip of the cap to Nick Westbrook.
Yep, that's a good sign. All right, and then lastly, for football at Hubers, Coach Allen likes the secondary depth. Duh. I think we talked about this last week when we went over the secondary and the seniors. The secondary is going to be deep this year, which is great because we had a lot of injuries last year in the secondary, so it'll be good to have good people that can come up and play some time. And then he's concerned about defensive line depth. I think we all could have told you that after last year. You can never have enough depth at the defensive line. So if he's saying he's slightly concerned about it, then that should say a lot about we might have some rough times ahead for the defensive line this year if we have injury problems. Now, fingers crossed, knock on wood, everybody's healthy. We don't have to worry about depth. But it's football, so anything can happen. It's
Yeah,
also IU football, so
right. No, that's absolutely true. I mean, and the one concern when Tom Allen mentions that the defensive line is kind of the area of concern with the depth, the D line is impactful in multiple areas of the game, right? You got to stop the run, you got to stop the pass,
yep.
you got to you're rushing the passer, you got to get key third down stops. The defensive line's kind of the starting point to all of that.
Yeah.
So we'll see who steps up. Guys like Alfred Bryant and Jonathan King, they're underclassmen. James Head Jr. fits the billing as well. They're underclassmen, but look, you got a shot on a Big Ten team to make an immediate impact. And on the other side, you've got seniors Gavin Everett and Alan Stallings who can really sort of rise to that senior class expectation. So it was it's always a little bit concerning when the head coach says, hey, this position group needs improvement and the depth is something we've got to look out for. But the first couple games against Ball State and Eastern Illinois will give this team a chance to kind of ease some guys in. It's not like you're facing a top 10 team right away. So they'll have a chance early on to figure some things out.
Yep. All right. So Nathan, who won the week?
Yeah, look, this thing was kind of fluctuating all week. There were a few different guys I was thinking about. But in the last 24 hours, we had some pretty big IU sports news outside of basketball and football. The guys that were kind of feeling maybe a bit down after getting eliminated from the NCAA tournament this weekend had a huge boost of good news on Monday as Tanner Gordon, Andrew Saalfrank, and Matt Gorski were all drafted in the Major League Baseball draft. I think I flipped the order, actually.
You absolutely flipped the order, but yes.
Gorski was taken in the second round by the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I think Saalfrank, a left-handed pitcher, and Gordon, a right-handed pitcher, were taken in the sixth round. And look, folks, this Major League Baseball draft, it goes on for like 3 days. It's got like 50 rounds.
Oh, yeah.
So for 3 IU baseball players to be taken in the top 6 rounds of their draft is a pretty remarkable accomplishment, especially for Gorski, who was taken in the second. I think all those guys deserve a gold star for getting drafted. I think it's also cool that, one day these are guys who are taking classes in like Ballantyne and Swain Hall and all that stuff, and then the next day they're getting drafted into the major leagues. So I think that's pretty cool. There is a slight thing to look into here because unlike the NBA and the NFL, you can opt to come back to college once you get drafted in Major League Baseball. So for the 3 IU players who are all juniors, now if you were a senior and you're graduating, it doesn't matter. But for those 3 guys who are juniors, they can, even though they've been drafted, they can opt to come back to IU for their senior year based on the round that they were picked, based on the team that they're going to. It's a pretty free, flexible structure. I think some folks might remember last year, the Oakland A's even selected Kyler Murray in the first round of the Major League Baseball draft, and he's not going to play for the Oakland A's. So it's very flexible. We'll see we'll see what decisions the 3 IU players make as far as whether or not they sign with their pro teams. I'm looking forward to that. And then this afternoon, there was an interesting blurb that came across in the soccer world where former IU player Justin Rennicks scored the game-winning goal for the United States national team against France in a round of 16 knockout match in the U20 Soccer World Cup. It was a pretty unique moment. It was a pretty cool thing. Rennicks scored a late goal. It was a tie game before he scored against France. So that's an unbelievable accomplishment. Rennicks played at IU recently. Now he's a famous name in U.S. soccer, at least for tonight. So for those of you that may not follow soccer as much, it's a pretty big deal to see what he did. Matt, I know you're a soccer fan. Is there anything you wanted to add there?
Yeah, I'll add to that. France were the tournament favorites going into this. They just won the World Cup, but that doesn't matter. They're under 20. So under 20, the U20 means under 20 World Cup, which means all the players that are playing in the World Cup, except for 1 or 2 on each roster, is under the age of 20. So it's like 18, 19, 17-year-olds, a couple 20-year-olds, and then maybe 1 or 2 21 or 22-year-olds. France has the most expensive roster as far as transfer value. So they don't trade in European soccer. They kind of just buy players off each other. So a team will go to the other team and go, I want to offer you 40 million euros for this player. And so they get the player and the other team gets 40 million euros. I really like the idea of that. But anyways, so France's roster, their back line is their defense and their goalkeeper together is more expensive than both the U.S. men's national teams under 20 and the under 23 or the under 23 squad. So they were by far the favorites to win this tournament. They literally have pros playing for them, people who play important minutes for clubs like Dortmund and people who play for the youth teams in Barcelona, playing for them, and the U.S. men's national team, and Justin Rennicks just beat them. So
the old Hoosier boy got him.
That's right. So watch them 11:30 a.m. The tournament's in Poland, so it's 11:30 a.m. on Saturday. They take on Uruguay. They take on. Is it Venezuela? I think it's Venezuela. Might be Venezuela. I think they take on Venezuela, who just beat Uruguay. They take on Venezuela Saturday, 11:30 a.m. on Fox Sports 2. So go watch them Saturday morning.
It's Ecuador. It's Ecuador.
Is it Ecuador?
Everything you said was right, except it's Ecuador, not Venezuela.
It's Ecuador beat Uruguay to get there. I'm sorry if you're Ecuadorian. I apologize. Anyways, so
by the way, just one final note: Rennicks is currently in the MLS. He plays for the New England Revolution. So a 20-year-old IU soccer player is in the pros playing for New England, and he scored a humongous goal in an international competition. Pretty good deal.
Humongous. So we're on to the quarterfinals. It's the Elite Eight of the tournament. We win. We go to the semifinals for, I think, the first time ever as a nation. So if you want to go look at the upcoming stars of growing soccer nation, go watch it Saturday morning. Okay, moving on to basketball at Huber's. Oh, wait. One more thing before I move on to basketball. One more thing.
Okay.
Indiana HQ's got a shop. Go check it out. If you get 15% off with the code 2019 offseason, that is 2019 offseason in all caps, you get 15% off the store. I personally love the Half Circle Hoosier State Tri-Blend t-shirt, so go check that out. We have some cool designs over there that people at the website are doing great work, guys, so good job on that. Go use 15% off with the code 2019 offseason in the shop. Anyways, now moving on to basketball. Can you tell I'm not regularly the host? We're going to talk about the incoming class. of course, the incoming class. We got Armand Franklin from Indianapolis, and also from Indianapolis, Center Grove. We have Trace Jackson Davis, 5-star recruit. They just got onto campus this past week, so Archie got to talk a little bit about them. Got anything to add, Nathan, about the incoming class?
Yeah, in general, look, much like Tom Allen, Archie Miller was able to get in front of the media and spend 15, 20 minutes just kind of giving a summary of where the program is right now, the different offseason things that are going on. Archie seemed pretty excited, which is not a word we've associated with Archie Miller too much, but he seemed excited to have Trace Jackson Davis and Joey Brunk join the front court this coming season. It looked like he's very happy to have that kind of front court depth. Because when you consider you've got Jackson Davis and Joey Brunk, and then you add in Deron Davis, the senior, and Race Thompson, who's going to start playing his next season for IU. Now all of a sudden, Archie does seem to feel like he has some answers up front. So Jackson Davis, he said, was a bit underrated offensively. That's encouraging for me personally. I think IU will need all the offensive help they can get next season. He also commented that Franklin is going to really help IU from the perimeter. And he may not be a 30, 35-minute per game guy his freshman season, which makes plenty of sense.
Yeah.
But, we've seen in the NBA even, guys can come off the bench and really infuse some scoring. And it's possible that Armand Franklin plays that role for IU next year. He may not start, but in certain situations, he might be one of the 2 or 3 guys that IU relies on for a 3-point shot.
Yeah, I mean, he can come off the bench and give us 4 or 5 points off the bench every game. I mean, that is all you can ask for a freshman guard who's not named Romeo Langford. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, anything Armand can give us would be great. I'm sure he's going to be a wonderful addition to not only on the floor, but also in the locker room. Having talked to his mom recently, if you haven't seen that podcast, we talked to his mom. Go check it out. I think it's like episode 70 something. So go check it out on YouTube. You'll find it. Mrs. Franklin's wonderful. Anyways, moving on. So the scholarship situation, of course, Archie was asked about the scholarship situation. Since we have 2 scholarships spots open now, because now that Romeo has left for the NBA draft, good luck, Romeo. Now we have 2 spots open. So there's some questions on the draft, and also there's a little bit of news that we got today that I will add at the end of this. But anyways, Nathan, what do you think they're going to do with the scholarships, and what did Coach Miller kind of talk about that he wanted to do with the scholarships?
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what news you have. I'm not sure if I know off the top of my head, but maybe I'm missing something. From Archie's standpoint, he commented for a minute or so about the scholarship situation. As you mentioned, Matt, IU does have a couple of spots open. Archie seems to be pretty much content with having those 2 spots open for the coming season. He mentioned that in 2019. He doesn't believe that having 13 scholarship players makes sense. Those are his words. He says IU appreciates the ability to have some roster flexibility, which Archie felt like he had for the first time in 3 years as head coach. Basically, it seems like the staff is closing the book on 2019 editions and is looking to have maybe a larger 2020 recruiting class or 2021 recruiting class. Archie did emphasize he is focusing on having a bigger group of guys come in for 2020. So we'll see how things play out. Now, personally, without having those 2 scholarships filled, I don't think Archie can use depth as an excuse for this coming season. Obviously, the Big Ten is a grind, so I think you're taking a little bit of risk having those 2 spots open. But Archie obviously is the head coach. He has an idea of what he's doing. We'll see how it plays out.
Yep. So, all right, little news that I have, little tidbit that I have is maybe the clue to what Archie has been doing with the 2 extra scholarships. Now, today, Jeff Rabjohns of, everybody knows Jeff Rabjohns of Pigs, announced today that 6'5" point guard Austin Van Zyl, who has played the last 2 seasons in France for Monaco. Well, I guess if he plays for Monaco, he plays in Monaco because whatever. Plays in the French league for basketball for Monaco. Has been talking to Indiana about this upcoming season and a possibility for him playing. He's 6'5" point guard who can shoot the ball very well. He is Canadian, born in Canada. He went to Huntington Prep. Of course, we've had a couple IU basketball players who've come from Huntington Prep in the past, or we've been involved with recruitments from people from Huntington Prep. He can shoot the ball. He's a point guard. If you go and watch some of his tape of him playing against actual pros in France, he actually looks pretty good. And he's going for the NBA draft right now, which should say a lot about his ideas of where he wants to go in his basketball playing career. He's been going through the draft process, but he has maintained his NCAA eligibility, which is fantastic because that means he can come and play for us next year, hopefully. But it seems like we're the only team on his radar as of now. And so if he doesn't make it in the draft, I think he will come to us and or stay in France, whatever he chooses. Good luck to him. But anyways, that might be a name you see in an Indiana jersey next year. So remember, Austin Van Zyl is his name. He's from Canada.
And right. Just to clarify, are you saying that he could join the team for the 2019-20
yes.
season? Right,
he can immediately join. He'd be immediately eligible.
I totally missed that. So that's interesting. Yeah.
I mean, it was sneaky today. It just happened. Like a couple people tweeted about it, a couple people didn't. I was very confused, but yeah, 6'5" point guard. And he'd be immediately eligible.
I'm always shooters.
He was class of 2017. And he left. So he's actually would be technically a junior, but hasn't played any years in the NCAA. So he's coming straight from Monaco. So he'd be immediately eligible, which is
cool.
Interesting. You don't see that very often.
No.
His only college offer, by the way, on 24/7 Sports was Marshall, but 6'5" point guard that can shoot it, and played 2 years against pros. We'll take it. We need all the guard depth we can get. All right. So anyways, moving on. We just talked about Romeo. We're going to talk about Jawan as well. The NBA draftees and how they're doing. He's talking about Romeo's going through the process. Jawan's going through the process. All the teams that Jawan's interviewing with. The teams that are kind of focusing on Romeo a lot. Of course, I would love to see Romeo personally go to the Miami Heat because they have the 13th pick, and that's about where they thought he will fall. And I'll be the first person to get a Miami Heat jersey, one of those nice pink ones with Romeo's name on the back. I will be the first person in line. But anyways, you got anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I think Archie basically said that the staff is thankful to have all 3 guys who tested the waters come back to Bloomington for next season. So that's Justin Smith, Devontae Green, and Al Durham. All guys who are going to play a very integral role on the team next year. He mentioned that Smith has been working on his game on campus. He mentioned Al Durham's been in Georgia, Devontae Green in New York. Pretty cool, by the way, that Devontae Green's brother, Danny, is in the NBA Finals, as is our Hoosier boy, OG Anunoby, who might make an appearance in the games to come. I don't know. We'll see. But, so they went through the undergraduate advisory committee, those 3 players, coming back to IU after getting some feedback. I think that's one of the important takeaways. And, yeah, Romeo Langford seems to be off and running into the NBA. Looking forward to see where he gets drafted on the 20th, I believe, is when the NBA draft is.
Yep. So good luck to our guys in the draft. All right. And then lastly, the most important news that he talked about, all important, but the most pressing issue that we needed to be talked about was Jerome Hunter. Jerome Hunter, of course, we haven't heard anything about him for a while since the season ended. And we still don't really know much, to be honest. He said he doesn't expect him back anytime soon, but that doesn't mean he won't be ready for the start of the season. And some people are speculating that they can't say much because of HIPAA. But anyways, Archie gave some answers on Jerome Hunter, but really didn't give any answers at all in this weird way, and we're all now confused. Is that how you feel, Nathan?
I think that's about right. That's kind of how this whole Hunter situation has gone. It's funny. I was reading an article written by Dustin DePirac in Dustin D.
Dustin on Twitter.
No, he writes for The Athletic. I was just reading through that, and it's funny. I think he called Jerome Hunter the wild card, which I think is a perfect descriptor for Hunter. I mean, this guy was a 4-star, top 100,
top 50. Top 50 recruit.
Top 50
yeah.
player. I was looking at Rivals. We had him 52. So, I mean, yeah, you're right.
Top 50.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Yeah, we're nitpicking. But you can see the kind of impact that some people thought he could make. It's been complete hush-hush from IU point of view, and I understand why. I mean, look, like you said, there's HIPAA medical regulations as to what they can divulge. These things are always a bit touch and go. So the staff is targeting July and August to get better answers on Hunter. On a daily basis, Hunter works with athletic trainer Tim Garl. And we'll just kind of see how this whole thing goes. Look, I'll tell you one thing. I hope he can play for IU next year. If he's healthy, he does seem to be like a guy who can make an immediate impact. So, we'll see how things go. He's handling the adversity dealt to him, and the staff remains optimistic for his recovery.
Yep. And so hopefully we see Jerome Hunter on the floor next year, not in sweats on the side. So I guess we could definitely use him next year. I think he's going to be one heck of a player for Indiana if he gets to play for us.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because, last year I had the opportunity to watch and cover a couple of games for Indiana HQ. You couldn't find a more optimistic, enthusiastic cheerleader than Hunter. I mean, for a guy who's obviously been dealt with some bad injury news, Hunter did not seem to let that affect his involvement in the game from the sideline. He was in every huddle. He was applauding every good play that IU made. He was encouraging when the team was struggling, which is always what you want to see, right? If a guy's unable to play, you wanted to see him involved on the sideline, and Hunter absolutely was that player. Even in games that I watched at Purdue, where IU was pretty much out of it for the most part, and at Northwestern, which was a real mess.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So, by the way, guys, if you hit us up on Twitter or in the chat, the live chat or whatnot, asking us questions, just yell at me that I didn't see your question, and we'll answer it next time. So that about wraps it up for our 91st show of the Hoosier Sound. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your support. We will be back next Monday for another edition of the Hoosier Sound Off. A big thanks to our live audience for coming out and participating in the chat. Thank you guys. We love you. Make sure to stay tuned through the updates on Twitter. Visit our website, indianahq.com, and subscribe so you can get the episodes right to your phone. Send us your questions as the audience on what questions you have, and we'll answer them on the next episode. Most importantly, if you enjoyed the show, please leave us a review on iTunes or Facebook. Tell a friend. Share our links. I don't know. Tell your mom to listen to the podcast. Your support is how we grow the podcast and reach more passionate IU fans such as yourself and your mom. But as always, thank you so much for listening, Hoosier Nation, and we'll see you next time. Peace.